The Poet Empress is one of my favorite fantasy novels of the year. The basic premise, without getting into spoilers, is that our main character, Wei Yin, is chosen from her poor village to become a concubine and then the empress in waiting for a truly vicious and abusive prince. In order to escape her circumstance while still helping her family back home, Wei must become literate and compose a magical poem that can kill the prince. But the only way for the poem to work is if the ancestors believe that you love the individual first. Oof. I was pretty quickly sold on this story when I learned that a major premise of it is that poetry is magical in this world. They call it literomancy, which is so cool. That thread was strong through the story, and it wasn't just about the magic of poetry, both literally and figuratively, but about the power of literacy and how controlling literacy enables those empowered to retain that control. Some elements of that theme reminded me of R.F. Kuang's Babel, though it's not quite as much a focus here. The first act of this book sets up the motive and action so well and intentionally. Every piece builds tension and meaning, establishing the brutal and vicious world of the royal court, as well as the danger to Wei at the hands and blades of Prince Terran. You really feel the mounting anxiety along with Wei. The setting itself also creates a kind of claustrophobic tension. Wei is in an opulent palace with no wants, but most everyone wants to either hurt or torture or use her. The story stays mostly within these walls, making them feel like the prison they are and sustaining that tension in the background through the whole story. Add to that an encroaching deadline and you're on the edge of your seat. I was also pulled through because this is such an interesting problem to solve. Wei has to write a poem to kill someone but must love them first, and before that she has to understand them. After all, poetry was, quote, truth and emotion. As Wei does, you come to deeply understand even the antagonist. Terran is almost a caricature of cruelty, almost too unexplainable at times. And I don't want to say much to avoid spoilers, but while I never sympathized with him, the story did surprise me with what emotions it did conjure. Wei is also a very capable and engaging protagonist. She uses the expectations around her as a tool and makes some decisions near the end of the book that genuinely surprised me, but made perfect sense. In the end, The Poet Empress is a dark but beautiful story about how people are not what they seem and how obsession with power and privilege pushes people to do terrible things, and those consequences ripple out through generations and across nations. And it's about the power of literacy to change lives and those nations as well. I really enjoy The Poet Empress, and if you're a fan of fantasy with court intrigue, interesting magic, a bit reminiscent of Babel, and compelling but messy characters, I think you'll like this too. If you've read this book, what did you think?